thank you everybody for joining the fourth Sales Ops Demystified. The first two were just me and Henry chatting. And then the third one was last week. We had Justin on from AeroCorp, and we found that format more engaging. I think we enjoyed that more.
Yeah.
It's also the result, what people are saying. They enjoyed it more as well. So today we have a very special guest. We have Rory Brown of Kluster Intelligence. And again, we're going to be running for about 30 to 45 minutes. We have an idea of the topics that we're going to be covering. But if you have anything you want to ask, either Henry, who's also experienced in sales ops, and Rory, then just ping it in the chat. We have Josh here in the room who will be passing those questions through to me.
If it's anything super specific, we'll come back to you afterwards.
True.
It's probably the best way.
And then moving forward as well, we'll be having a guest, someone who has real actionable sales operations experience on every week, Thursday, 5 p.m. If you have registered for one of these, you'll probably get an email from me asking if you'd like to register again. We might get some kind of solution where if you've registered for one, you get invited to all of them in the future. Won't we, Josh?
Yeah.
So I think we're probably going to get started. And the first kind of point that we're going to go into is like an intro to Rory. But what I'd like to say first is that I really like the way you describe what your business does above the fold on the homepage. I'm quite aware that that is more marketing, but if you could take us through like what Kluster Intelligence does first, and also your experience related to sales and sales operations, and then we'll dive into the questions.
Yeah, sure. So I think what you're referring to there is a homepage where it says, will you hit target next month? We already know. So essentially, we built a really smart reporting toolkit for Salesforce. And that is designed to take the data that sits in there and manipulate it and display it in different ways that will basically help us understand how to forecast more accurately, how to forecast from further out, further ahead, how to create revenue more consistently. More importantly, it's all fueled from the very salespeople that are putting all the data into our CRM. It's about giving them value, giving them visibility, giving them an understanding of how their business works that they never had before. And also that's a huge impact on the quality of reporting you get at the top.
Got it.
How do you access your products? How would I access your products?
It's just a login through a web page, normal SaaS product.
Yeah, nice. And then your journey, an intro to you.
My journey. So prior to Kluster, I've only worked for one business. So I worked for a sales training and recruitment company called BMS. Started there at 21 through to wherever it was, and grew a team in London of about 12, 15 people. So I was really a sales manager.
Okay. Did you start off as a sales manager?
I started off as a salesperson.
Nice.
Yeah, and then became sales manager.
And what were you selling?
Recruitment, training to sales businesses.
And so you earned your stripes and you moved your way up to be a sales manager.
Yeah, through the greasy pole.
How long were you selling for?
I was selling for 5-6 years.
Nice.
And then into...
Only then did you move into management?
Correct. Yeah.
Why?
The opportunity came up. We needed an office in London. Off we went.
Nice. Oh, so you were selling in a different location?
Yes, we moved locations, and then I was one of the first people there, and then I would hire a team
in London.
As it grew in London. Yeah.
So they're like, Rory, we need to go to London and set up a sales team. Is that essentially what happened?
That's it.
Sick.
It all happened.
Nice.
And I've never left London since.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you were selling for 6 years, did you say, before you came to London? And then how long were you managing?
So I was managing for 3 or 4 years, and then me and my business partner started Kluster.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what kind of inspired you to start the business? Was it because you could see that you weren't being able to use the data that you've got in your CRM? What was it?
It was a mixture of challenges that I had as a manager, getting visibility of how the hell we're going to land and how we're performing, and the one-to-ones with salespeople where you're a bit like scratching around for a spreadsheet of how they perform and what the key metrics are, and everyone's a bit getting a calculator out and rustling around.
Nice.
And also I had a lot of confidence because my business partner was an actuary. So he did mathematical modeling in big insurance.
Wow.
Face, brain, you get the rest of the story.
But so one topic that has come up a couple of times is about how having actual sales experience and then coming into a sales operations or management role. So I have a couple of questions. First is, when you were a sales manager, did you find that you were doing sales operations tasks?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And do you think that your 6 years of sales experience helped you in that operations and management role?
It's a really good question. I think coming through the sales route gives you the empathy when you're going backwards and speaking to the salespeople. Doesn't necessarily give you the technical nous. So you're in there understanding the problem and feeling for people, but you're not necessarily that well equipped to quickly produce and distribute a solution. So it's a bit of a catch-22 really coming through that angle, I'd say.
So you have part of the skill set, but then you won't necessarily have this other part.
Yeah,
cool.
Definitely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because the guest we had last week, correct me if I'm wrong, Henry, but have never been a salesperson.
Yeah, so I don't think Justin's been a salesperson. He was in sales ops and then moved into sales management.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some distancing yourself from salespeople to be a sales manager is quite important. And I think the same relationship needs to happen with sales operations. Sales operations is kind of the intermediary between a sales manager and a salesperson. They're kind of the connection, aren't they? And so they can sometimes be the shoulder to cry on a lot of the time.
I mean, for you, right now you essentially have all three roles.
Yeah, all squished into one. Yeah.
Interesting.
Like you.
Okay, cool. So I think that, like, Henry, do you have any more questions about like Kluster or Rory's journey?
No, I think that's really cool.
So we have 3 points that we like to discuss, quite tech focused, I think. So we'll move through them, and then Josh, do you have anything? No, no questions yet. Okay, Henry, I'm going to pass this one to you.
What your sales data can tell you about the right technology to employ. So it's quite a broad topic. How do you do it at Kluster? What are you doing with data in the sales funnel? And how can you use that easily? How can people watching this take something away and actually use their data to their advantage to make more money?
Sure, yeah. I'm thinking it's a broad topic. So the first thing I think before we get into anything nitty gritty, it's understanding what mode your business is currently in. So are you the scrappy, plucky, growing business where getting revenue as fast as you can is what it's all about? Are you at the beautiful stage of building this wonderful, predictable, repeatable, process-led engine that's polished, and when you present to investors, all your key metrics are trending in the right direction? Or are you a mature, PE-backed business that's trying to grow 6%?
So which are you?
Which one do you think? The first one I mentioned.
And so don't aim for perfection early on. Is that what you say? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well,
trying to get the basic fundamentals, the framework correct.
Yeah. And
then it's easier to scale from there.
Correct. Yeah. I think. Well, as I said, so it's bearing in mind what mode you're in right now. If you are the plucky business trying to get revenue, you're going to be employing tech to help you sell faster, and that's it. And it could be at the sacrifice of polished processes. But if you're in that middle stage where you're about, building this repeatable process, then the tech you employ might be quite different, because the aims of the business at that point are quite different.
Okay. So if you had just your CRM, what would you? And you had limited time, limited funds. What's the first things you would do?
Good question.
Is it take on more technology, or should you spend time and effort to get your CRM correctly configured, maximize that, and then bring on other solutions?
I think good point. So I think the first step would be, we're talking about Salesforce, which most of us are on. It's about setting up a really slick, easy way of using it.
Okay.
Move your deals through the stages. Set up how your leads work, set up how your contacts work, make it easy. Don't overcomplicate it. You've only got a few salespeople.
And how do you decide? So some businesses use accounts, contacts, and opportunities for their entire sales process, and some use leads, then convert it through to opportunities, accounts, contacts.
Yeah.
How does a business decide what to do and where? Because it's not. I think it depends on the business. If correct me if I'm wrong.
Totally.
Maybe the sales cycle and who you're selling to. Yeah. How do you decide those things? I think, so business, some businesses use accounts, contacts, and opportunities for their entire sales process, and some use leads, then convert it through to opportunities, accounts, contacts.
Yeah. Well, for us, we split it very easily, and leads are marketing driven, contacts are outbound driven.
Okay.
Pretty simple. But as you say, I've seen very different permutations of that, and it totally depends on how you want to structure it as a business. I've seen people that, because they've come from HubSpot as a CRM, they've got rid of leads totally, and they just work on contacts, and then they ignore the lead object completely.
Because we do something slightly different as well, right?
Well, we were using accounts, context opportunities, partly because we're an ISV, so the way all of our customers are obviously linked into our own Salesforce. However, we have moved to using leads again.
Okay.
Mainly because I think it's slightly easier for us to divide up between teams and probably scale a bit faster using leads. It gives us clarity of roles, makes reporting slightly easier.
Yeah,
I find.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to go that way. I'm not saying it's super easy. I'm not saying it's like 100% right. It's just I think it's the right way to go.
It will never be 100% right, will it?
No.
I don't think I've ever seen one that is. So
yeah,
should probably get that out of our heads.
It'd be interesting to see people watching. What they employ, if they're doing it account based or if they're using leads. I'd be quite interested to know that split.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else on this one?
I mean, I think we could talk all day.
Yeah, we probably could. Yeah. Feel free to carry on.
Cool. Okay, so here's back. Yeah, looking at the technology. I guess using the data that you're getting. What technology do you choose, and how would you then employ it?
So I'm a big fan of using metrics in the sales funnel to work out what technology do you need. And it can be quite common for people to think, well, I'll look at the worst conversion rate of my entire contact to close journey, and I'll focus on that. But actually, what I think is more powerful is if you're able to get that data at the salesperson level, what you're probably looking for is the greatest spread in terms of a conversion rate between each salesperson. So if you are like qualification to op, and you've got the difference between someone's converting 10% and someone's converting 65, that for me is where you start to focus, because the process is totally off. Right?
So that's a big opportunity.
Big opportunity.
So you're saying instead of looking at the overall conversion from top to bottom, you can slice the data in a slightly different way, and find a salesperson who is potentially underperforming.
Yeah.
And then that's an area where you can look to optimize.
Yeah, so I think for me it's where there's the greatest gap on a metric between two salespeople.
Yeah.
Because that tells you that there's the interpretation of what that process is too open. i.e. it's probably not a process.
Got it.
It's down to what each individual thinks it is. And that's your opportunity to create a process, which will then, you've got 65, right?
Yeah.
So you can get 65. So you can get 10 to 65.
Yeah, I mean, you need to understand, why is that person getting 65%?
Yeah.
You have to understand it in detail, and that's why people use things like call analytics, trying to understand, as a sales call happens, how many steals are happening on the call, understanding all that data. But I think it's such a, is that something you do early on, or do people do that only when they're optimizing, when they're trying to eke out those extra, are we talking about small businesses or larger businesses, or?
It's a good question. This is the big challenge of this discussion, isn't it? In that we're, I'm not sure what the audience are. I'm guessing we're probably all in kind of SaaS tech type environments.
We should profile the audience. If anybody would like to share their industry, you can. I wouldn't assume anything there.
So for me, I think that's the greatest place where technology could be employed, because I think technology should be about building a process, which is so good for the business in its long-term health. And that for me is the greatest opportunity to put a process in place.
Have you seen that in Kluster, and do you have an actual example? I'm putting on the spot here.
Goodness. The preemptive.
where you've seen maybe, I obviously you don't pick out a salesperson, but maybe a process that you've implemented that has had at one of those stages that has had a good result. And don't worry if not, I know I've just put you on the spot.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's quite obvious actually, and it's one that one of the first discussions we will have with our customers is we'll walk into the onboarding and we'll say right in front of the sales management to the salespeople, what is an opportunity, and just wait and watch the debate unfold. It's amazing how many people haven't got the entry criteria for an opportunity list.
Interesting.
And of course, everything after that is shot because it means that they're all probably using the stages differently as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a process that's clearly defined in the business, and also you've got to keep qualifying. I think we discussed it in a previous webinar. You have to keep qualifying throughout the sales process.
Oh, totally.
Every single stage it should be reevaluated.
Yeah.
So how would you then does it not really matter what the definition of an opportunity is, as long as it's consistent across your organization and everyone understands?
It's what it means to the business and it's consistent across the people that are using it. That's really all that matters.
So the business can forecast effectively.
Sweet.
Yeah. One of the knock-on effects for sure.
So do you think there's going to be a difference between how Ebsta classes an opportunity and how Kluster classes an opportunity?
I definitely think there will be.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I've definitely been asked before, or what do other companies in our sector class as an opportunity? So, well, it's really not relevant to your business. What is important is that it's aligned within your business, and then that's what matters. Don't look to what other people call an opportunity. It's less important, I would say.
So was that one of the first things you did at Kluster as you're building the sales process, is have a clear definition of
what is not,
and have it stayed the same inside?
Yeah, it's evolved,
Slightly.
but it still has the same fundamentals. Yeah,
Cool.
So that consistency will be there from the off.
Got it.
Whereas I've been into mature businesses where it's still not there, and it just wreaks havoc across the sales funnel.
I think we have a question.
Sorry. What are some things from Justin? I don't know if that's Justin from last week. What are some of the best metrics that provide coaching opportunities for younger sellers? That's a good question. Thank you, Justin.
It's quite a few. So again, I like to focus on the funnel if the data is okay and it's there. So the first thing I would be looking at is things like conversion rates between each stage of your funnel. So you know where their bottlenecks are immediately, make that very visual. You can then coach on that particular issue, go back and see if the metrics are improving. Is there like a specific one that, especially with younger sellers, you'll see that might need to be optimized, or does it not matter if they're young or old? I'd say
if they've been coached correctly, I think you can. Yeah, it's all about good coaching. I think to give them the confidence and the process to stick to.
But but I think the question is asking, if they had a younger seller and an older seller, is there a point in the funnel where a young seller would probably need more coaching, or not?
Yeah, I would say what you're going to find with younger sellers is that the way that you coach them automatically, you coach them top down. So they're going to be struggling more at the latter stages of the funnel than they are at the top.
Okay.
So metrics you might want to be looking at is, when you're starting to get into pricing negotiations, that part of the funnel, what is the key metric around that particular area, which is typically later down the line.
And they might not be doing it so often as well.
Exactly, yeah.
It might happen less often, those kinds of discussions.
Yeah.
Got it. So they need more coaching.
Yeah.
Hope that answers your question, Justin. Okay, well, we're talking about opportunities and how it's really important to have that clear definition.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that's really important, or any other definition or process that's really important to have defined, or if every stage of the process needs to be fully defined?
I think every stage
needs to be fully defined. The whole thing has to be perfect, fully defined.
No, because everyone hopes for perfection, but you won't get it.
Yeah, it's a journey to get there. Okay, cool. But that's a key stage, is to have an opportunity fully defined.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's back to qualification. What's your criteria?
At each stage.
Yeah.
Nice. So sales SQL, right? So what are the qualification criteria all the way through?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's also about taking once you start analysing pipeline, if you know it's being created at a consistent point, you know that what you're looking at in terms of coverage and how fast you're booking it and all these metrics, and you're planning ahead and spotting gaps, you know it's reliable because at least it's being created in unison. If it's not, you can't rely on that information as well, and it becomes very challenging to hit target, basically.
Okay. let's move on to our final point. Interesting. Henry, tell me more about this.
How to build credibility with the team using data. Well, I think, so is this in relation to bringing technology to a business for them to then see benefits?
So it's driving salespeople's adoption of new tech. Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay, so, well, they've got to see the value in it, haven't they? Because salespeople traditionally hate any kind of change in process, and sales ops people are normally driving those kind of changes within a sales team. So they have to see value from it.
But what I want to pick you up on here is define the word value, right? And is it value for the business or value for them and the paycheck?
I think ultimately it's their paycheck.
Yeah. And so actually the word value is another way you describe the word like subjective prioritization, right? So how can they see that this tool is going to make them more money? I'm not saying that all salespeople think like that.
Well, I think if you can get salespeople to earn more money, the business will therefore benefit, won't it?
For sure.
So they work hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. So how are we going to use data to do that, Rory?
It's about making it accessible and visible. So, so again, for me, salespeople are in a world where they're constantly being told what to do to hit this KPI, to follow this process. It's very, management still hasn't caught up with the modern way that salespeople think and who they are and how they act and what they're after in life. So it's still a little bit disconnected and it's very kind of top down. So one thing you can do to build credibility and to bolster a new initiative is to visualize the improvement. Nice. So this is going back into the metrics and the data and saying, right, we employed this technology 6 months ago, right, and the adoption's been okay to good. Yeah, but this part of the funnel we're looking to tackle, we had 200 grand a week dropping out when we started. We now got 120 grand a week dropping out. So 60 grand a week is staying in your pipeline between you
because of this tool.
Because of this tool, make it visual, make them realise, and then just as you said, just top it right up to the commission at the end, saying that's about £10,000 extra comms you've been earning over the last 6 months. So congratulations.
Always bring it back to the commission.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends on your business. It could be about bringing on more clients and delivering more value or whatever it is that
people get excited by. Yeah, but not this commission.
Have you ever taken on technology in Kluster that's made a radical difference?
Yeah, we've got quite a decent tech stack.
Yeah, what does it look like, your tech stack at the moment?
So we've got outreach. So we do a lot of campaigns and sequences, which are either outbound campaigns, which is a little bit more like value prop led, or we do inbound campaigns.
Sorry to jump in.
Yeah,
I'm quite interested as more of a marketer, like how you get someone who has no idea who you are to start engaging through email or however you're doing it. For those outbound campaigns, obviously don't share the secrets, but what has been working? Like what do you say or offer in the email to get people to engage?
I think it's got to be very value led. Like you've generally got to give them a bit of information on an email or on a video or in a direct mail handwritten note or on a voicemail. They'll think, flipping heck, I might try that. As soon as you got them thinking that, and then you follow up more credibly, you back that up with more value, eventually they're going to think, probably want to speak to this person at some point because they know quite a few things.
How many touch points in a traditional campaign?
Could be 16 plus. Easy.
Nice. Yeah. So we've got outreach.
We've got outreach. We use Vidyard.
Within outreach, you do personalised videos.
Yeah, I'm looking to one called 23, which is like a UK-based competitor.
So does that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can record one video and it will insert custom stuff into it. Is that right?
Well, we use the free version.
Yeah, so Vidyard, you can do things like you can on a webinar, you can share your screen, do a quick demo.
Okay, cool.
But the benefits are, we've used it briefly, it's you can drop, if you're in Gmail, you can just drop it straight into Gmail. So you just click one button.
So do a quick little video, chuck it in, bang it.
So it's actually quite good. Yeah, it's quite a good tool. Yeah. I don't know what the pro version offers.
Lots of fancy stuff, call to actions, and
because I thought there is video software out there where you can record one video and say the name of the business or the name of the person you're reaching out to, and then like a mail merge but in video. But that's like I'm not sure if that's
it's not like I know. I think I've heard about that solution, but It's not quite like that, but you can quick. It's about speed. So you can spend 2 minutes making a video for one prospect. You probably wouldn't do 20 in a day. You might do 3 or 5. How many would you expect people?
Well, we're hyper personalized, so actually we do a video per person.
Do you?
Yeah, but that's just our approach. We're not volume led outbound.
Sure. So video outreach.
With Salesforce, we use Gemini, which is a really cool tool. Well, it's WebEx, a dialer, a coaching tool, all built into one. It's really slick. We use Kluster for our reporting and checking our funnels on track. What else do we use? And we've got HubSpot on the marketing side.
Oh, nice. So you're connecting HubSpot and Salesforce.
Yeah. It's been a joy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So for the audience's benefit, we've been wrestling with Pardot and Salesforce, and the connection is quite good, but we've inherited anyway. That's a long story. Maybe we should do one on connecting.
Marketing
CRM to marketing automation, because I think would that fit under sales ops? It's a combination of sales and
I think it might be marketing.
I think more and more it will involve sales ops, because that initial technical integration is where the whole them and us sales and marketing divide can start to happen. If everyone's not involved in that connection, then you set the theme off on that foot.
And this is a trend that I'm new to the sales ops space, but the trend I'm seeing is that people are actually saying that maybe it shouldn't just be like sales ops, marketing ops, customer success ops. It's actually potentially one team. What are your thoughts on that?
RevOps.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, RevOps is already quite big in the States.
Really?
So what you see in the States with the bigger companies, if you've got your sales ops, your marketing ops, your CS ops, and then your RevOps manages those 3 teams, but they all work in a team. Rather than working in the sales team and the CS team and the marketing team, they're a hub.
It's also the RevOps then be looking at the technology and saying, okay, so the sales ops team are using this type of technology, marketing are using this. Is there anything they can use across the board, like a platform that they can use, a singular platform? Because otherwise you get pockets. Different teams using different technology in the business. That means different data sets, which isn't always the right thing to do, is it?
Wouldn't they ideally all be using Salesforce? Or not?
You guys are using HubSpot.
CS typically will be using things like Gainsight and Tutango and these sorts of things. Marketing, obviously, and the marketing CRM and sales, so they are quite separate.
So HubSpot now have 3 products for marketing, sales, I believe, and customer success. Is that right?
I didn't know they had a CS product.
I think they do. I'm looking on their site. Josh, can you quickly go to HubSpot.com?
How customized is your Salesforce?
Fairly. Yeah, we've got a lead workflow, a contact workflow, and an opportunities workflow, and they all intertwine. The most technically difficult has been the HubSpot integration.
Okay.
So it's bringing up Salesforce lists with all the stuff we want to see based on the HubSpot activity. So It's been more work on that than anything else.
I'm going to jump in here quickly.
Go for it.
This is for the audience. You can actually just go to HubSpot.com, but HubSpot does have three products: Sales Hub, Marketing Service, which I think, and so it's quite interesting, right? Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
Cool, and that's something that I'm seeing more and more. It's quite interesting, I think. Something that we can, because like, if that is the case, then we're called Sales Ops Demystified, but maybe we should be
RevOps Demystified.
Who knows?
So,
what do you think?
I think RevOps Demystified is catchy. So if you have a limited budget, where do you spend your money first? If you're gonna go out to the market, look on the App Exchange for Salesforce products, what are you getting first? If you have a sales team, what do you give them first? Do you give them a dialer? Do you give them email integration? What do you do?
That's a good point. Actually, sorry, I forgot to mention we use Ring Central. Telephone's pretty important still, even. But bar the obvious, I think top of the funnel is where we'd look first. So for us, even though we're quite targeted and we're not after volumes and volumes of contacts, we're quite keen to be able to add them to Salesforce as quickly as possible. So tools that cut corners in the stuff that salespeople have to do manually, like adding a contact and filling out their information and checking if you've already got them, like all that annoying stuff. That's probably where I go first, because when you're new, you haven't got much money to spend, and your salespeople are like literally going to define whether the business makes it or not. At that point, if you can free up their time in the biggest way possible, that's what I would do first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Time saving. So it's about making those big gains to start with and then optimizing later.
Yeah, I think optimizing comes much later.
Getting them on the phone,
Set.
on email, on video.
How much selling time do they have? Anything that moves that percentage up. That's really good.
Because I think you'd be surprised how much time salespeople spend just simply trying to find someone to call, trying to prospect to.
Yeah.
And I think that's that. If you can reduce that time and make them be effective, then it's worth it, isn't it?
100%.
And one thing that we were talking about actually is there one metric that a sales operations team can use to define the sales team? And do you think, I just had an idea then, it could be time selling?
Like it.
Like, and so there's the England rugby.
Time selling per head.
Yeah, so
It's a good metric.
it comes
Very
back
good
to it comes back to rugby. So Eddie Jones,
Who's Eddie Jones?
the head coach for England rugby. So his single metric he has across the team, so forwards and backs, is the amount of time, how quickly players get up off the floor. So he has one metric he can judge everyone by, and it's
Time
very
on floor.
well. It's how quickly they can get up.
Okay.
Okay, so because if you're on the floor and you're playing rugby, you're no good to anyone. But if you're on your feet, you can make tackles, you can pass balls. So it's a simple metric across the board that everyone can easily understand, and it is something I've heard that he prizes quite highly. So
he probably has a team, or he can somehow measure that quite easily. Maybe there's someone just timing it, I don't know. But how would you do this with the sales team?
He'll have OptiStats doing it all for him.
Automatically.
Well, we've got a CRM system with data in it, so we've got no excuse really.
But if someone's then has to go to LinkedIn to I don't know, is it going to be possible to do this?
Yeah, I would think the easiest way, given a sales ops job, is to understand these issues. Shadowing. You got the time to do it. Shadow your sales team. Watch them. Time it. Yeah, time it.
Maybe we should start doing that.
So I think we've got another question.
That's a big one. Justin Knuckles. How do you best measure success and keep sales professionals engaged in enterprise sales situations where sales cycle is 12 plus months and just need 1 to 2 sales per year, and that could exceed quota? That's a great question, Justin.
Yeah, awesome question.
Anybody experienced with these big deals?
The super long sales cycles.
I've just been working on this. So traditionally, we're going back to commission schemes earlier, and these people we talk about, Justin's talking about, it's a long time until they realise their paycheck. Right? Sometimes they can start a year before they get their first commission check. Yeah. So if you've got trust in your sales funnel, and you can take it all the way back to opportunity, prior activities, engagement, all that sort of stuff. What is quite controversial, but what you can do is you can set up commission schemes or sub-commission schemes based on metrics that are much higher up the funnel.
Interesting.
And you can celebrate and gamify those metrics as if it was revenue.
So number of opportunities.
Number of opportunities added, pipeline added, qualification calls attended, I don't know, people engaged in a certain
and link that to commission structure.
That's a commission structure.
Nice. Have you guys done that?
It doesn't have to be commission structure, just linking it to the culture of what's celebrated and what gets the early finish in the pub and what gets the pat in the back.
Have you done that at Kluster?
I've seen clients do it.
Okay.
And they've actually been using Kluster as the kind of recording mechanism.
Nice.
But
awesome.
It's quite controversial, but I think it works really, really well, because what you're doing is you're driving the right behaviour at a point in the funnel, which is a point where you can, if you drive that, rewarding when it's already happened is too late. You want to reward all the good stuff that happens more frequently.
Especially if it's a year before someone might get the commission. That's a really good answer. That's really good. Nice.
Well, that was useful.
Have you ever seen that before?
No, I think that's it's a great idea. I think I guess it's unique to every business. If you've got short sales cycles, I think it's a close one.
Sweet. Thank you very much. Any more questions, Josh? No, we're good. Okay, cool. Have we covered building? Well, I think we kind of diverged away
How
from
to build credibility, so drive adoption.
Make it visible.
Make it visible.
Show them results.
Yeah.
And show them results at a personal level.
Cool.
This is how much extra you've made because we employed this technology. And if you're trying to build credibility before, then it's a different conversation. But you want to try and get from your vendor, and they should have this, the expected return for an individual contributor.
And so if you've got a team of salespeople and you've got salespeople that have been there for a long time, how important is it to get those, and they might be the most successful salespeople, getting them to use the technology and them see value in it as well, and don't let them not use it. That's really important, right? Because you've got to drive that behaviour.
Common problem.
The younger salespeople have to see the older salespeople or more experienced salespeople using the technology to their advantage, and then they will follow suit. Do you think that's really true?
Yeah, I think that's a very difficult one, and it's really hard, as you say, someone who's doing really well revenue-wise for the business, convince them this is important. But then you've got to take a huge step back and ask them, well, okay, what are you actually doing here? Why are you at this business? If you're here because you're entwined with our values, you want it to flourish. If it's going to flourish, we need a predictable model. That's going to happen.
Nice.
You need to lead by example.
Have you had that
That's quite
discussion?
simple. Well, I've had the discussion before, and I'm sure the discussion happens across the land.
I really like that.
But people can be afraid to have that conversation with senior salespeople. Then you've got to ask, if you're afraid or you can't have it and they're not rational about the conversation, do they embody what the company's about and should they be there?
That's really nice. I love how you brought in the values to that before going into why you need the process. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, cool. We probably need to wrap up in the next few minutes.
Okay.
Henry, do you have any other questions on your sheet?
So I think there's a couple of questions. So who in the business is accountable for good data? And, data is critical to making good business decisions, good reporting, all those good things. So
the easy answer is to say everyone, but there's different layers within that. So the responsibility comes from the top, and that they've got to create an ethos and a culture where people recognise the importance of this. And going back to my previous comment, where the right behaviours are celebrated, not just patting the person on the back who's made the most money, who could have done an absolute shambles, farce and all to get there. And everyone's thinking, well, I don't need to do that. So I think the responsibility ultimately comes from the top.
And also, when it comes from the top, it's things like at a sales meeting, not having a sales manager who's downloaded an Excel sheet with numbers in it and then made a graph.
Yeah.
It's about reporting in the systems that everyone's using day to day with live data.
Totally. Yeah. But then I think we also got to remember that as we're all pretty much employing 60% of our sales workforce are millennials now. These people are very educated, they're very capable, they have a sense of purpose and they want to master their craft. So there is still an awful lot of responsibility. If you are a salesperson, for goodness sake, be a modern salesperson and don't just throw your toys out the pram because someone else was doing something different.
And do any businesses have amazing data, or does everyone suffer?
I think everyone's got amazing data, colourful.
They just don't know how to use it.
I think it's a really interesting question. So every potential client we speak with will say our data on Salesforce isn't very good, and ultimately when you get in there, maybe 1 in 8 or 1 in 9 they're right, but the rest actually it's very, very usable. They've just been saying that as a way to put off the inevitable building out a neat process. There's a lot about CRMs these days are so good. They've got timestamps, they've got change data, they've got all this micro data going on that we can use to our advantage. So there's an awful lot more in there than you think.
It's almost too much. There's almost too much data to crunch through.
Yeah, your job as sales ops is to organise it and make it when it becomes visualised, it tells a story that everyone can get behind, and that reimburses the whole process.
Nice. Cool. So that brings us to the end of Sales Ops Demystified number 4. If anybody would like to talk to Henry, we don't really talk much about Ebsta here.
No.
But Henry's there, that's his email. And also if anybody's interested in, I guess, data in the sales process, if they're interested in that, they'd potentially be interested.
If you want to forecast better, you want to report better, you want to make email useful.
Rory at Kluster.com. Rory, there was a couple of really big insights there. I'm going to try and remember them. There was the one about bringing the commission higher up the funnel, and there was one more about the value thing I really liked.
Yeah.
2 great little nuggets that I'm going to bring out right below the video.
Cool.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Pleasure. Thanks, guys.
And yeah, we will be distributing the slides and the recording to everybody who has attended. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.